Before we get into China stuff, Darren Till versus Kelvin Gastelum making his middleweight debut at Madison Square Garden. Got to respect Darren Till for that one. I mean, that's a very, very tough fight to make your middleweight debut. Gastelum obviously had that great fight with Adesanya. Nearly knocked him out with that head kick, if you remember. But, he lost a decision. He beat Jacare. He got really lucky once in China one time. He fought some washed-up version of himself, some guy that was really had no business being in there. But I forget the guy's name, but he beat him as well. So Gastelum, no joke. Tough fight, middleweight. For Darren Till, that's the right thing to do. Going down and killing yourself, getting to 170 isn't a smart thing to do. But it is a tough fight. It's a it's a ballsy fight. It's a ballsy fight for Darren Till, because if he beats Gastelum, he's an immediate contender at 185. But if he loses to Gastelum, lost 3 in a row, so there's a lot to gain and there's a lot to lose. There really is. 3 in a row. I mean, Darren Till's got no fear of this, but 3 in a row, sometimes people can get cut. They'll be out the organization. Till won. He's exciting. He's got a massive following. He's a huge star. So he's fine. But still, 3 in a row isn't good for stock.
If you remember years ago, another British superstar, Dan Hardy, I believe, lost 4, maybe even 5 in a row. And it was a big unprecedented thing. But it was very obvious at that time, as we were talking about it earlier about the UFC sort of wanting to go global, they were really trying to take over England. And Dan Hardy was such an exciting fighter. It was he never had a boring fight in his life. He just was fighting the toughest motherfuckers. And he was doing it with no grappling. He just was sitting there and punching dudes in the face. And I remember they didn't cut him after it was so many fights in a row. I forget, it was at least 4 fights in a row, maybe even 5 in a row.
4 in a row. GSP, Carlos Condit, Rumble Johnson, and Chris Little.
Rumble Johnson fought at 170. I forgot.
Isn't that insane that he fought at 170 pounds? By the way, incidentally, Anthony Rumble Johnson is coming back. Harrington, in a moment, just elaborate whether that's BKFC, bare knuckle, not Burger King, or UFC at heavyweight. Rumble Johnson, when you look at him, he is a monster of a man. And when I say he's fucking gigantic, and that's the way he hits. He hits so hard. He's a great fighter. So he's coming back. And you're absolutely right, considering he fought at 170. Jesus Christ. And where is he coming back to, Harrington? Is it UFC or bare knuckle?
UFC. He's going to fight at heavyweight in the UFC.
Is it officially a UFC contract, or did you just say it's coming back to MMA?
No, when I spoke to him at the BKFC event, he told me he's still under contract with the UFC. So for him to take any fight, it would have to be with them. And they, I guess, made a deal where he's going to come back. He's going to do 6 months of USADA testing to fill in with those rules. Then he'll be eligible to fight in the UFC by March of next year.
How do you view the time off? Do you view it as, okay, I didn't have wear and tear, I was rehabbing the whole time, or do you view it as a couple of years I lost there? What is the framing of this last chapter?
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I don't know if there'll be ring rust or anything like that. That's to be seen, and I'm not really concerned about it. Don't care. But this time off has been probably the best thing for me in my life. The number one thing is really opening this gym and starting to teach others has really changed my entire perspective. And a lot of things that I'm telling people to do are things that I haven't been doing myself, and I can look at myself and see that now. And I really got me back to being a martial artist and really focusing on simplifying and consolidating everything in my training. What can I take away rather than what can I add to the training? And I think it's going to be a much simpler, clear-minded camp than I've ever had. And I think I'll be a lot more focused. And, even like opening a business really helped with a lot of those things, learning a lot of lessons of business that can carry over, and just seeing, how important it is to have a clear vision and have a clear mind and know what you want to do, and learn to accept the fact that you can only control what you can control when you can't control it. And a lot of those little details, I think, are really going to make a huge difference going into this. And at this point, I can accept exactly what it is, where I'm at. And on December 14th, I'll be able to accept where I'm at on that day. And I'll be able to perform, I believe, better than I have in a long time, if not ever. Was there a moment when you were in class teaching where it dawned on you that this was the right thing to do, and you're like, oh, right, I've not been doing this? Man, there are probably 1,000 of them. Definitely not one coming to mind straight off the bat like that, but that's a constant thing. I'm consistently reminded of the things that I've done wrong. It's just a regular, everyday thing when you're teaching. You're like, God, I'll be in the middle of a technique and just talking to myself saying, gosh, I don't do this at all. And I'm sitting here telling these other people to do it. You know, I'm using my athleticism or my muscles. And so, you know, at this point, I think I'm really getting better at recognizing those things and really getting better at being a better martial artist. And I think I'm going to show that on December 14th.